Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna sit back.
Citizens of the world, welcome back to Live from the Heartland for the week of April 17th in the year 2026. I'm your host, Michael James. I'm here with my co-host, Euan Hague, today. And we have a music producer named Lynn Orman who really is very much involved in music, all kind of music. But she got a hold of me and said, let's talk about International Jazz Day, which I think officially is on the 30th, and an event that's going to take place at the Cultural Center in the Preston Bradley Hall downtown on the 26th, I believe. And Euan, why don't you grill these three guys, because we have a lot of information, and ask them a little bit about how they want us to identify them.
Why don't we start with Dan? 90.9 FM. Tell us a little bit, introduce yourself, and what do you play in your show?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me as a part of the panel. I mean, it's kind of an honor to be on the same call with Mark and Barry, because you're talking about a couple of Chicago radio pros that, it goes beyond Chicago with Mark especially these days. But I'm the station manager at WDCB, which next year will be celebrating its 50th anniversary on the air, known these days and in recent decades as Chicago's home for jazz. We're, I guess you would say in radio terms, the third biggest jazz station in the country after the jazz stations in New York and Los Angeles, with terrestrial radio. And I'm the station manager. I wind up jumping in to fill in on a lot of programs, but I've been in one way, shape, or form playing jazz on the radio since the late 80s, so about 37, 38 years, something like that.
Let me just throw in, we're really glad you got that station. We listen to it. It fades in and out a few places, but we hear a lot of good music.
Thanks. Glad you enjoy it.
How about Barry? Give us some info.
First of all, am I still echoing? I think I fixed it.
You fixed it.
Okay. I don't know. I went on the air in the fall of '74 at Illinois State University, WGLT. We gladly learn and teach. Ha, ha, ha. And that was followed by WBEZ. And, I think it was 78, and then 79 went on the air. Same year Cushing went on the air. We both got hired within a month of each other. Steve Cushing, the blues guy. And then in the fall of '86, I joined XRT at doing jazz transfusion for the next 31 and a half years. And then I joined DCB, I think 2001. Does that sound right?
I think that's right, Barry.
Yeah. And I was there full time until a few years ago when I semi-retired. Now I do When Jazz Was King Saturday mornings on tape. Mm-hmm. Many people ask me why I'm live Saturday mornings. I tell them I'm not.
And Mark, Dan mentioned that you have a reach beyond our city, as well as within the city. What is your role in jazz music radio?
I am the program director of 3 radio stations for Sirius XM, which still keeps me in touch with the city, thank goodness. But that's what I do now. I'm on my 46th year as a pro in radio. I started September 1st, 1980, and Barry Winograd was the guy who taught me.
I've got to leave now.
No, when I started, man, what a great time it was, Barry, right? It was me, you, Bob Bradley, Kirk Young, Neil Tesser, Linda Prince, Dick
Steve
Buckley,
Hart.
Steve, yeah, man. What a great time that was back then.
Oh, it was.
Well, you're a lot of young guys, but I was just wondering if anyone knows about Sid McCoy, the real McCoy, who used to be on WCFL, which was the Chicago Federation of Labor before it became a top 40 station. There was late night jazz. And I remember as a student at Lake Forest College going down to the city around midnight and hanging out and talking with Sid McCoy. Any of you guys remember him or know that name? He, some people call him the best interviewer, interpreter of jazz ever.
Yes. Yes, I know of Sid McCoy. I grew up in a record store on the west side of Chicago.
Ooh.
So my folks were really into radio and music. So I remember Sid McCoy as a kid. What's really cool about this event and doing some research, I found out some great things about Sid McCoy. First, I should tell you, I was Yvonne Daniels' last producer at WNUA. And when she passed away, so many people sent us air checks. And I have an air check of the first night Yvonne Daniels was on WCFL with Sid McCoy that we're going to try to play at this event. Okay.
Cool.
And I found out that when Sid McCoy was fired from WCFL, this is crazy. He did the overnights and they were going pop, and the guy he had to train was Larry Lujak.
Wow, that's going back too. Well, why don't we let you guys, whoever wants to go first, talk about the jazz on the radio, what we know about the history of it, particularly in Chicago, and then we can get to where jazz on the radio is at today.
Well, I brought a picture if you can see it.
We can.
Okay. Oh. Mark knows who it is.
Sure.
It's autographed, but you don't get to see the autograph. Yeah, but Dick Buckley, I mean, he was inspirational, a mentor, and had the craziest house in the world if you'd never been to it. That's all I'm good. But I'll start with the Dick Buckley story. So I'm engineering at WBEZ, and it's before I went on the air. But, you know, you're sitting at a board where you're seeing the personality behind you through a mirror, and they're in the room next to you. So I'm sitting there. It's my first time with Buckley, hands me his side, you know, he says, you know, whatever. And I get it going on the turntable. That's all we had were turntables at the time. And all of a sudden I look up in the mirror and I look back and Dick's doing one of these. And I'm like, oh, great. My first time on the air with Dick Buckley, he's having a heart attack and dying. So I ran back there. He was fine. It was, what was that disease he has? Narcolepsy. Yeah. And no one told me he was a narcoleptic, you know, and he was having such a good time. He was having this little chuckle, laughing and everything. And that's what brought it on. So that's my first experience with Dick Buckley.
I think Dick Buckley is a good through line for all of us. You know, I know Barry worked with him when he was really at the height, and I was kind of with him at the end. I wound up being his producer during the tail end of his career at WBEZ, and was on the air with him. And the story is about narcolepsy. Everybody was sort of aware of that. I used to give him rides home. He would take a taxi in from Oak Park, do the program, and I would give him a ride home, and he would fall asleep in the middle of telling me a great story. He was telling me a story, and he would say in advance, don't take it personally if I fall asleep. It's just narcolepsy. But sometimes he would sort of fall asleep as the record would play, and I would wake him up just before the end of the record, and he would spring back to life and have all the information about Thelonious Monk and everybody that played on the record. And, of course, his voice of God was, I mean, if there was ever a voice made for radio, Buckley's the gold standard.
It's funny. All three of us have that experience of playing music for Buckley. All three of us. When Barry and I were at BEZ, I think they called us Barry. There was a title. We were overblown board ops. Operational engineers were our title because we had to deal with the satellite. Yeah. But it was a great time because the DJs couldn't play the records. So here I am, a jazz fan, and I'm playing the music that Dick Buckley, Linda Prince, Neil Tesser, all they do is talk. We played the tune. So it was a very cool gig. Yeah.
Well, Mark, did you ever experience the Buckley where he handed you a side as he was walking in? He said, side 2, cut 1, and he'd introduce something and it wasn't the album that he gave you? Yeah. And you'd be, look, what should I do? He'd just point and say, play it. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
It was Buckley. I learned so many lessons from Buckley. It's Buckley who told me it's only radio. Let it go. Mm-hmm. It's only radio. And to this day, I still the line that reminds me to remind you. I got that straight from Dick Buckley.
Well,
remember, if I was meant to be an engineer, I would have been one. When he was running combo, it was a disaster. Yeah.
I think it's interesting that all three of us both have connections with both WDCB and WBEZ, that we each had tenures there and connected with a lot of the same people. I know Richard Steele, who is just the greatest, and we all love Richard Steele. I got to work with him for a long time and got to know Richard very well, and I'm so glad to hear that he's going to be on the panel. Just wanted to mention Larry Smith, one of the great DJs who was late night on the air for many years at WBEZ. But even before that, I've got an air check kicking around somewhere of Larry broadcasting. He did a lot of live broadcasts from the Sutherland Lounge in the early 60s.
Oh, I remember the Sutherland Lounge.
Yeah. and there was where he's saying Elvin Jones taking his bows, it was the Coltrane Quartet playing in 1961 at the Sutherland Lounge. And that was Larry's sort of always was his glory days all the way to the end, was being able to host all the Miles Davis, Bill Evans, John Coltrane, all these great musicians live from the Sutherland. Do you know which station that was, Mark?
No, but do you have the audio?
I'll have to hunt it down, but I've got it. It's a short clip, but it is there. I do have it someplace. I'll see if I can hunt it down for you.
Wow. Cool. Wow. And Barry, I always wanted to know this. We had to play the sides for Linda and for Neil and for Buckley. Why didn't we have to do that for Larry Smith? It was on after midnight, but I recall Larry came.
Well, I can't tell you because I was the first all-night host. I remember when I went on first, they canceled classical music for the first time in years, and was some guy whose name I don't remember, but was a well-known, been there forever type musician and announcer, and it was Carol Nolan and Jim Nader. They were and Jim Nader was the program director. Yeah, and he's the one who hired me there. They were like, we'll see what happens, and it went on, and then I did that for like 9 years, and then Larry came on. So we were doing combo then.
Well, you guys are bringing up a lot of memories. I'm a little older than you, and I remember going to the Sutherland Lounge and seeing Roland Kirk, which was quite a show. And I just wanted to, since we're all showing pictures and stuff, here is a painting of Charlie Parker that was on the cover of the Heartland Journal a number of years ago.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
How about someone telling us a little bit about International Jazz Day and then the event that we're going to have here in Chicago?
Mr. Ruffin.
Actually, Michael, I was the voice of God at the very first International Jazz Day celebration at United Nations.
Hallelujah.
You guys know what voice of God is, right? The announcer, the hidden announcer that you never see. And I've been to many of them. I've been to Morocco, St. Petersburg, Russia, the one at the White House, the one in Havana. So I've been to a lot of them. And I have to say, as the Chicago Jazz Alliance has pulled it together, this is the one I believe that really brings in the community more than any of the other ones I've been. So and what happens every April 30th, this huge organization, two of them actually, UNESCO and Herbie Hancock Institute of Jazz, they pick a city and they come in with all their big names and all their big umbrellas. And it's up to the community to find things to get under that umbrella to help them promote it. And that's really how they work. And again, I think Chicago has done such a great job. There's so many great events starting on the 25th through the 1st of May. And you can find them at chicago.jazzday.com or jazzday.com.
And I'd just like to say I'm going to actually be performing with the Chicago Jazz for Chicago Big Band. It's at noon on that Monday, and it's a big band led by the great trumpeter Roger Ingram and saxophonist Natalie Scharf, and we'll be at noon at the Cultural Center on that Monday.
Wow. Go ahead.
Just mentioning as well, there are events like I think Orbert Davis is doing the Sketches of Spain at right. Is that at the Harris Theater or the Logan Center?
It's at the Logan Center. It's at the Logan Center at 1 p.m. that very Monday too.
On Monday afternoon, I know WDCB will be doing a live broadcast with Bobby Irving and his trio from Piano Forte. At 6 p.m. on Monday, we'll be doing a live broadcast, and it's free to attend. So we'll have room for an audience of about 100 there. And hopefully we'll be talking to him a little bit about his time with Miles Davis. This is the Miles Davis centennial year. There's the Jazz Institute is having a bus tour also that's happening. I think that's Monday night as well. So there's a lot of stuff happening.
So is the event on April 26th at the Cultural Center, the kind of centerpiece? Or just one of?
That's just one of. I mean, there's so many events. The centerpiece is always the All-Star Global Concert. That's always. It's always Dee Dee Bridgewater, Herbie Hancock, Marcus Miller. They're like the core. John Beasley is the music director. And this year, Bobby Watson's coming. Christian McBride is coming. A lot of Chicago folks are also involved, of course, Marquise Hill. And you should know that when a city pitches to bring this event to their town, someone has to organize and get it all together. While Chicago is Herbie's hometown, it was Kurt Elling who put it together, who got the Chicago Jazz Alliance together. And it was Kurt Elling and his organization that made the bid that got us here.
Yeah, it's kind of like Mark, I've never been to one of the big international jazz day concerts around the world, but it's kind of like the Super Bowl, where you've got the main event is on the 30th itself, is this big all-star concert, but then there's a week of events that are all around it. And most of them are free to attend. Almost all of them have free admission.
Yeah. UNESCO demands free.
You know, you guys mentioned Bobby Irving, and I remember Bobby used to be eating at the Heartland Cafe a lot. If some people wanted to see an interview we did with him in the WLUW studios a number of years back, you go to the Live from the Heartland show and then put in his name. It should come up. I'm not going to guarantee it, but Bobby Irving is a wonderful guy.
Did you know Bobby was Miles's longest serving music director? If I'm not mistaken, I'm sure of that.
Wow.
I just knew he played with Miles. That's good to hear. Well, let me ask you gentlemen a little bit about the state of jazz today. Is there more of it? Is there less of it? Is there a lot of new forms? Is there like a resurgence? I know I heard an interview by a guy named Whitehead on public radio talking about Alice Coltrane and her transformation, and going through some hurdles and where she emerged. Share some information about the state of jazz today.
I guess I'll start. I mean, the one thing I would say is, depends who you ask and depends what you're classifying as jazz, but it's really broader and bigger as ever. I mean, you've got this incredible history. I mean, it's 100 plus years of history, and we have access to more of it than we probably ever did back when we used to have to hunt down the records in record stores and not everything was in print. Now you can access almost anything that's ever been recorded. At the same time, it's never going to be like it was when there were multiple clubs at 63rd and Cottage or anything like that in Chicago. But there's a lot of great jazz. Chicago is incredibly vital right now, and not only locally for musicians that we see and hear here in Chicago, but also you could almost say developing artists that are now making an impact around the world. Chicago's just incredible right now. It's fantastic. There's a lot happening.
Well, I just like to say one thing: as developing musicians go, it's a whole different world. You used to go to a jam session and there'd be, George Bean, John Bainey, or Eddie Johnson, or George Hughes, all these great musicians hanging, John Young. Can't tell you how much I talk with and listen to Jody Christian on sessions. I mean, great musicians around here. And there's a lot of things that are not available anymore, especially clubs, of course, less clubs, but less places to just go and at midnight, go to the Bulls and hang. Well, first of all, you can't find parking. I mean, that killed us when they did the parking thing. We used to play, here's a quarter and you're good for the rest of the night. Now, but there's a lot of different things that have changed. And the ability for young people to get out and really just hang and play. The John Boehny jam sessions were famous for those. It's, as far as I know, it really isn't there anymore. And so the development is great. It's just different. It's very different, I think.
They're developing digitally more than anything now. The kids have no walls. So like Dan said, it depends on who you're asking. And I mean, some just don't know jazz, but they might like Isaiah Collier. They don't know it's jazz. They know what they like, you know? And speaking of the Colliers, is it Jeremiah who works with Stanley Clarke? And he's a drummer from Chicago. He got his gig because one day Stanley Clarke was looking at YouTube and he punched in, "Who's the baddest young drummer out there?" And his video came up, and that is how he got the gig with Stanley Clarke. So it's a whole different world, you know. Instead of jam sessions, they're looking at Wes Montgomery play. You know, the thing is, they don't get to hear a whole album though. They don't understand. There are things that are taken away from them, but you know, it's a whole different world.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, and it used to be too. It was like Hampton's looking for a tenor player. Who do you got? Oh, there's this guy Johnny Border in Chicago, or there's this guy trumpet player Arthur Hoyle in Chicago. You know, that's how it used to be. It was all word of mouth. Cats knew, and there was work, and you learned at the age of 18 on the big bands or wherever you might be. Yeah. You
know, before I forget, I wanted to share with you that our engineer today, who's my son Hal James, his middle name is Coltrane. Hal Coltrane. And
I like your picture, Hal.
Show us your face, Hal. Come on. Well, here he goes. That was quick.
That was enough. I grabbed it. It was just
let me ask you, what's the legacy of, say, the AACM in Chicago?
Well,
wow.
I want it.
You're the expert.
As far as this program goes, I needed someone on the South Side to address things like the AACM, to address HPK. That's why Lofton Eminary is going to be very valuable in this conversation. Him and Neil, because they know what was going on with the AACM and the art ensemble and how it relates to radio too. And one more thing, Michael, when you talk about the future of radio in Chicago, I mean, Dan Bindert is it. WDCB, true. From what I understand, that's all that's left. Is that true?
Well, Mark, it's very nice of you to say. Yeah, I mean, and there are obviously still, you know, there are programs on the various college stations, like you mentioned, Lofton at WHPK has still a stable of some great jazz programs, and WNUR and various stations.
WLUW, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
But WDCB has really become sort of the one big main hub that's playing jazz with live announcers. I mean, Barry mentioned his program on tape on Saturday mornings, but outside of that, we have still a live DJ 6 nights a week, overnight, from midnight to 5. You know, we're live from midnight, 19 hours straight till 7 o'clock at night every day.
Wow.
And then a lot of live programs beyond that in the evening. We really still try to put forward the live, locally hosted, a live DJ who's sharing the music with you on the air. Nobody is playlisted. It's not by computer. Barry can attest that, you know, there's certain parameters we work within depending on the day part, but there's no computer generating a program from a music director. All the hosts.
Oh, Dan, that sounds like freedom to me. Sounds like freedom to me.
That's the way it should be.
I'll tell you where I would not be working if there was a computer generated.
Okay, you got 1 minute apiece, or about 30 seconds each. Give us a little pitch for whatever you got going on.
Well, I'm a host still at WDCB, When Jazz Was King, 10 a.m. Saturdays. We have an archive, so you can catch everything there. And also, this coming Monday, Jazz for Chicago Big Band, presented by Roger Ingram and Natalie Sharp. Free concert, noon at the Cultural Center, and I'll be the baritone sax player. And thanks for doing this.
I am on Sirius XM every day, 2 to 5 Central Time, Sirius XM Channel 67. I'm also a Terry Collier freak. There's a new Terry Collier album recorded Earl at Old Town. I wrote the liner notes. I think they're very good. And at the end of the year, I will be producing a Terry Collier tribute album with Alan Harris and John Beasley. Very excited.
I guess for my last plug, I'll mention that we have, depending on when this is airing, coming up on the 22nd, we have Ethan Fillion doing a 10-piece band with his Meditations on Mingus project that we're going to be doing at the Jazz Showcase, presenting as a WDCB fundraising event, and then the Bobby Irving event at Piano Forte on Monday the 27th at 6 o'clock, and that's a live broadcast on the radio, but free to attend in person. And looking forward to the panel discussion that Mark's hosting. That's really going to be great.
And it's
go ahead, Mark.
I should say it's RSVP is free. If you want to RSVP, it is markruffin.com/ourjazzlife.
Well, this was fun, you guys. You're bringing back a lot of memories. I didn't even tell you my Ira Sullivan story, but I'll save that for another time.